Hey there Wargamers, and welcome back to another Wargames Delivered video. Be sure to visit us at wargamesdelivered.com to get the paints, miniatures, and supplies used in this video, and also to refer a friend. You guys will both get a $15 discount, and with that, let's get into the video. In this video, I'll go over how I paint a very simple but effective Necron scheme, not really going for any dynasty in particular here, just really going for a tabletop standard Necron. To start out, I prime this mini with Air Matte Black. I like to start all of my Necrons this way to really establish a dark base tone to work up from. And in the first step here, we're using gunmetal to heavily dry brush over the entire mini, except for his blaster, the Ghost Reaper. This step and the matte black base coat will set the tone for our metallic paint scheme on the Necron. Try to work in the gunmetal very heavily, but also try to have a bit of the matte black showing through in the recessed areas. This will create natural shadows. And here we're going to accent the limbs, face, and the rib cage to make them look a little rusted, so we're going to use Bony Matter on all of these areas. I used 2 coats to get a nice dark brown bronze color. With the 2.0s and the classic speed paints, I really enjoy how they work over metallics. I think it's a staple for the speed paints and how you should use them. Next up, the Necron came out a little dark, so we're going to use plate mail metal to add some brighter highlights to the mini, using the same dry brush technique as before, but using a lot less paint so all of those shadows stay intact, as well as our rust effect areas. And the sort of mental guideline I use for this step is if I can see a brighter tone on the raised portions of the model, like the edge highlights and stuff, then the highlight in that area is done. It can be hard to see how much color you are actually adding when dry brushing metallics sometimes, so just look at a different area that you haven't gotten to yet for reference. Overall, these 3 steps are really key to a quick and effective Necron paint scheme. Once you get this down, it's just really fine details and the gun from there on out. With that step done, we just have a few more small details to pick out before he is ready for the tabletop. So now we'll focus on the Gauss blaster for the next few steps. To start out, we're going back to gunmetal to pick out a few details on the edge of the gun here. And don't worry too much if you're a little messy with this step, because next up we'll switch to matte black to clean up the gun from all of our dry brushing and just to fix any areas on the gun. And for anyone interested, we have a unique promotion for all of the Army Painter paint lines over on our website at wargamesdelivered.com, where if you buy 6 paints, you'll get 3 for free of your choice with your order. There's a link in the description for this promotion below. And in this step here we are with the matte black, cleaning up all of the metallic that may have gotten on the gun that we weren't intending for. Next up, we have a few areas on the gun and on the mini that we need to prepare for a speed paint step. So we're going to block out these areas with gray and then white so the speed paint shows up like we want it to. Starting off with ash gray, I'll be painting all of the Tesla coils on the blaster, the eyes, and the Necron symbol on the chest. And of course, as always, when using acrylics, thin this down quite a bit and use multiple thin coats over these areas. Building up from white to black can be quite a process, but it's worth it for the end result here. And as soon as the ash gray is dry, we can move on to matte white. The reason we use gray first is because it is really difficult to paint white over black, and vice versa without a buffer color in between. Ash gray will make the white pop more if used as the base instead of black. And with the matte white details, I'm using a fine detail brush from the Army Painter to keep good control over my paints and to avoid making mistakes over these finished areas. With all those details picked out, we can move on to our final step using Orc Skin to cover all of those details we just painted with the matte white. I prefer this method to regular acrylics for this step because the Orc Skin seems to leave more of a glowing effect that I really like on my Necrons. And I'm still using the fine detail brush from the Army Painter for this speed paint step. This is because I want a very thin layer over all of the white areas, and also to keep good control over the speed paint, which can kind of be a little bit harder to work with when working on finer details than acrylics can be. And for a very quick warp stone effect, I think this is pretty much my go-to for anything Necron related. Unless I'm going to go, do a little bit more detail and some blending on some of the larger models. But for my warriors, this is what I like to stick to. It just helps me get, 20 of them out faster on the tabletop. And Necrons are one of the factions I really recommend for beginners because it's very easy to learn how to paint them and paint them quickly and effectively and make them look very menacing and ready for the tabletop. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more painting tutorials. And also be sure to check out the top link in the description for the giveaway attached to this video. Thanks again, guys, and happy wargaming.